السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله تعالى حق الجهاد حتى أتاه اليقين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. Before we get started, Brother Naeem, mashallah, with the compliment you on your izar, may Allah allow you to wear it out for some time upon His obedience. I mean, a very nice, handsome izar. Tabarakallah. طيب, with that being said, we welcome all of the brothers and sisters, those who are local and those who came from far, Florence or Myrtle Beach, the brothers and sisters who are watching from Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, the brothers and sisters, the disciples in New York City, whether it's Brooklyn, New York or Queens, New York, everyone who's in attendance physically, in the spiritual essence, the online essence, everybody who's watching, who's listening, who's a part of it, we say marhaba bikum, you're welcome. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you will have both the ajr and the fa'idah, the reward from Allah and the actual tangible benefit. The reward, the hasanat, and the actual beneficial information, the actual facts, factual knowledge. And that should be your intention whenever you go to a class or a lecture. Is to get the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and actually to learn. And it shouldn't be your intention just to get the ajr, but it should also be educational and informative as well. Khairan, inshallah. With that being said, the main theme or the main topic of our get-together, our conference or mini-conference, is the hadith that's reported by Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in which the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam instructed us, informed us, and told us about the reward of building and erecting a masjid for Allah's sake. He who erects a masjid, a house for the sake of Allah, Allah will give him the likes of it in paradise. Will give him the likes of it in paradise. So that's the main theme of our lecture. Obviously, this is just one hadith, but from this one hadith, the idea is to spring forward and to leap and to branch off and to speak about community life in Islam. Establishing a community, building a community, erecting a community. And then when the community is in existence, maintaining it and keeping it going and keeping it thriving. Bringing something into existence and then allowing and keeping that thing tight. Allowing it to be ran properly, professionally, and for it to thrive and to grow and mature, and it to spawn other communities and branch off and influence thought. Everybody understand this? And this is the wisdom behind the Muslims saying in their prayer on a daily basis, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. Guide us to the straight path. What's the purpose of you saying this if you're Muslim? The brother the other day said, I said my kalima, years ago. I took my shahada years ago. I was a young boy. I was raised Muslim. I took my shahada in jail. I took my shahada in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and this and that. I used to live in a different state. I come from San Antonio, Texas. So why do you say that in your salat every single day? Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. Are you not guided to the straight path? Are you not a Muslim? So what is the wisdom behind this? The ulama of Islam, they say there are two wisdoms that we know of that are clear to us. And they say, first and foremost, is a term in Arabic which is called, they say what? Tahsilul ma'doom wa tathbitul mawjood. Or you can switch and say tathbitul mawjood wa tahsilul ma'doom, which means for you to solidify and fortify what you already have. You're a Muslim, you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you pray, you fast, you give zakat, you make hajj. But you want to make sure that it's firm and that you bolster it. You drill it firmly into the ground. It's supported, tight. It's not going to shake. It's not going to wobble, but it's solid. And secondly, you want to get more. You want to add on. You want to stack on. You want to continue to chisel, continue to smooth out and sand and polish and make it even better and even more pleasing, even more beautiful. So that's the concept of Islam. It's to ask Allah to keep you firm on what you what? Already have. And then ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow you to obtain that which what? You don't have yet. So this is the concept of a community in Islam. Is the building that we have, the buildings that we have, the few brothers, sisters, the swarms of brothers and sisters, is to make sure that we don't lose. Make sure that what we have isn't deteriorating, isn't being dilapidated and collapsing. But that's not progressive. That's a stagnated mindset. It's just to be pleased with what you have, and that's it. Now you have to go after more, seek more, and make better of what you already have. So these are the two guiding principles of this conference. Is how to establish. And once we've established by Allah's grace, how do we keep? And how do we make even better? Everybody understand this? Because there are 50 to 52 states, let alone the different territories of the United States, let alone North America, Canada, Central America, Mexico, and the list goes on. Let alone South America and the different islands in the Caribbean, and the list goes on. Islam needs to be spread. The word needs to be passed on. And not only just the general concept of Islam, but proper understanding of Islam with the proper knowledge and the importance of the Sunnah and its authority and how there is no political Islam, secular Islam, nominal Islam, cultural Islam. Islam is supposed to dominate and creep into and seep into and take over every aspect of your life. There's no Friday Islam, the rest of the days normal. Muslim speech, something else in my diet. No, Islam is supposed to take over every aspect of your life. And all other things that you have are supposed to bend and fold and become curved to what Islam dictates, whether it's mandatory or whether it's recommended. Khairan, inshallah. So that's what we want to talk about, bid'nillahi ta'ala, is the concept of establishing a masjid, establishing a center, establishing a library, a clinic, establishing a janazah center, establishing a basketball league, volleyball, softball, soccer, skateboarding, different activities for youth, activities for brothers, activities for sisters, establishing a center for senior citizens, elderly Muslims, establishing a soup kitchen, establishing an orphanage, establishing things for everybody, the non-Muslim neighbors. Somebody on the street the other night, she asked you for $5 in the gas station. It should be something set up which a non-Muslim has some type of haqq to the wealth of the Muslims. Not every day, not for this and that, but just in general, I need some money. Here you go. It's something that's established for those people. Everybody understand this? People that are hungry, that are starving. That's community life. And I would say one of the biggest problems that we face, there are many that we face, but one of them is the concept that it's just a masjid. And that's it. That's unrealistic, guys. That's what? That's unrealistic. If you look at the concept of the clergy in America and the church, it's much more than just a place of worship on Sunday. There's a place for orphans. There's a place for battered women. There's a place for homeless. There's a place for people who suffer from drug addiction. Everybody understand this? It's not the case. All of these services are offered because that's a part of what? Community life. And it can't just be coming to the place to worship and that's it. But people have problems. People have needs. People have options. They have what? They have downs, therapy, counseling. All this stuff is needed. A place where our children, our Muslim children can play and feel comfortable and not have to be around the kuffar and listen to what they have to listen to and see what they have to see and be exposed to some of the harms and dangers of playing basketball or playing soccer with the non-Muslim children. So bid'nillahi ta'ala, that's what we want to talk about, is the importance of this task the obligation of this task, the virtue of this task, and most importantly is how to do it. How to do it, and how to do it properly, in a manner that's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a manner that pleases Ar-Rahman Azza wa Jal, in a manner which is legislated and the foundations are laid down in the authentic sunnah. And all of this can be based off of the hadith, Man bana lillahi masjidan, he who builds a masjid for Allah. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. So therefore, you've had the previous speakers, I'm sure, and I'm more than confident, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that it gave you a good deal of information, instructed you, brought you light, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and spoke on the topic. But hopefully, by Allah's permission, we will bring up the rear, inshallah ta'ala, and give you just a few benefits, a few fawaid, a few instructions, which is nothing more than capping off and polishing what they already laid down and established. Bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khairan, inshallah. So we want to read here from one of my favorite books, Sahih al-Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, he says in Kitab al-Salah, the book of prayer, the 65th chapter, Bab man bana masjidah. He says, he who builds a masjid. The hadith is number 450. حدثنا يحيى بن سليمان قال حدثنا ابن وهب قال أخبرني عمرو أن بكير حدثه أن عاصم بن عمر بن قتادة حدثه أنه سمع عبيد الله الخولاني أنه سمع عثمان بن عفان يقول أن قول الناس فيه حين بنى مسجد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم إنكم أكثرتم وإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من بنى مسجدا قال بكير حسبته أنه قال يبتغي به وجه الله بنى الله له مثله في الجنة. Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, listen carefully to the words and we'll explain, and just be a little patient inshallah because it's going to help you out. Imam al-Bukhari, he says حدثنا. He uses these words by saying حدثنا, which means in the language of the scholars of hadith and in the culture of hadith, Imam al-Bukhari says حدثنا. He says that someone told us, reported to us. There was a man or woman who once told us something. He informed us or she informed us of something. So, for example, if I'm your teacher and you're Imam al-Bukhari and you're writing down something that you heard from me, you're going to say, حدثنا. He told us. Munir told us, because you're not by yourself. He told what? Us. As far as if it was just me and you, then you would say, حدثني. He told me. So Imam al-Bukhari is now giving you the first part of a hadith. Hadith has two parts. What you read in the summarized Sahih Muslim, or what you read in the English translation of Sahih Bukhari, or the Sunan Abi Dawud, that's only half of it. That's not the whole thing. And the first part of a hadith, Na'im, is called an isnad. It's called an isnad, or a sanad. And that means a chain of narration. A chain of narration. When you watch the news, they say it was an accident, or a riot, or a bank robbery, or someone won a championship, someone broke a record. They have to get the information from someone. The anchor or the reporter wasn't necessarily there at the crime scene, didn't necessarily see the crime, but they're reporting and they're telling you. Everybody understand this? Whether the person is on the street with the microphone and the camera, or whether they're sitting in the studio with a mug. Everybody understand this? There has to be a line of communication. There had to be at least one person, 2, 3 people, somebody that told that reporter what happened on this street corner, or in this bank, or in this stadium. Everybody understand this? And that is the chain of reporters. Or if it's something that you got from your family lineage, or let's say a skill, a trade. Let's say, just for an example, a person is an ironsmith or stonemason, or a woman is a basket weaver, a master weaver or weavstress, if that's a word in English. Sounds like it is. She says that this has been in my family for 1,000 years, for 800 years, for 500 years. It was passed down, master to apprentice, until it reached me, and I learned the skill. I never went to school for it. My mother taught me in her lap. Where did her mother get it from? Where did her mother get it from? Where did her mother from? That's the chain. That's the what? The chain. Speaking metaphorically like an actual what? Chain, like that link, a watch that you have on your wrist. Each piece, each link adds up to what? A chain. The chain could be strong or it could be weak. The chain could be, it could pop or it could be what? Cuban link. Now, unbreakable. Everybody can understand this or not? So therefore, it has to be a what? A chain. So where you getting something from, you had to get it from what? Someone else. Who got it from? Someone else who got it from? Someone else. And it goes back to the originator, the first woman to learn how to weave these things. Or how to fabricate and manipulate iron and turn it into a weapon or a hoe or a gate. Everybody understand this? And then it was what? Passed down. So this is the first initial part of a hadith. And this is very important even for the layman Muslim to understand. And that is for you to have certainty, trust, and respect for your deen and how it was preserved. Everybody understand this? That the deen was not haphazardly passed down. It wasn't something that they just made up with and came up with. Sahih Bukhari is the most authentic book after the Quran. There's a science behind it. And the more you know about it as a layman, even in general, it leads to your certainty. And it allows you to give better da'wah to non-Muslims. It allows you to give what? Better da'wah to non-Muslims. Because you can say to your mother or your grandmother, you say, okay, well, you say that Jesus is your savior. What did Jesus look like? What was his complexion? What authentic tradition? What was his favorite food? What type of sandals did he wear? What was his favorite color? What side did he sleep on? These are honest questions that you have to ask. Obviously, if the person is an honest person, discerned Christian, will say, well, you know, I may not know all of that. Maybe he was white, fair-skinned. Maybe he had the skin the color of bronze. Maybe. Now ask me about Muhammad. And Islam is not against Jesus. We believe in Jesus. We love him. We respect him. And he's from the 5 major messengers. It's not about clashing and fighting, but it's about making a what? A point, proving superiority of deen. So now ask me about my prophet, Mom. I can tell you everything about him. How tall was Muhammad? I'll tell you. What was skin complexion? I'll tell you. What was his favorite color? I can tell you. What hand did he eat with? I can tell you. What was his favorite part of his favorite thing to eat? Of lamb. I can tell you that in detail with science. This proves and shows you that Islam was preserved and kept safe. And this proves and it shows you that what you believe in, which has some good in it, an original foundation to it, but it's been what? Totally stripped. Like rice. It's been bleached. It's been washed. It's been stripped of its what? The white sugar, it's been stripped of its what? Of its, the minerals and vitamins. It's been stripped. There's basically nothing left. A piece of Wonder Bread. It's of no what? It's no value. It's like a piece of cake that you eat. Everybody understand this? But the origin is that it was what? Hearty and wholesome. You have a whole list of ingredients on the back of this thing of bread. But my bread, 2-3 sentences and that's it. Wheat, this, that, grain, salt, that's it. Done. That's my bread. And I can trace it back, every ingredient. Everybody understand this? So this is a very important concept with regards to hadith, the sciences of hadith, and understanding Islam and why only Islam. Everybody clear on this? Because somebody may say, well, there are good Christians and there are bad Muslims. And if someone said it to me, you know what I would say? You're right. No doubt. I know brothers that lie, steal, and cheat. And I know Christians who don't lie, who don't steal, and who don't cheat. That's a fact. However, that which you do of your religion is one or two things. As Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah mentioned, he says it's either an innovation, something that was made up, or something that has been canceled and abrogated. Mansukh, it's no longer a rule. Or it's something that Muhammad came and he brought and he affirmed. So it's no need, because it's the final messenger of God. Where can you trace back this practice? Who's the first person to say this? What language was it written in? Who translated from its original language? It's unknown. The disciples of Jesus, what did they look like? Who were they? For sure. That's the face that they want to have. Now ask me about the disciples of Muhammad. Who you want to know about? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Bilal, Khadija. I'll give you their names, their lineages, kullu shay. What color dye did he have in his beard? I can tell you that in detail. Why? Because I have what? This thing called isnad. Everybody understand this? So it's much deeper than just a hadith. But it's about Islam being a preserved religion. And hopefully, inshallah, you brothers and sisters can understand this. Hopefully you can appreciate it and value it. Moving forward, Al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that this man whose name was Yahya, the son of Sulaiman, he told us. In other words, the teacher of Imam al-Bukhari is Yahya ibn Sulaiman. So I'm Yahya ibn Sulaiman and you're Imam al-Bukhari. You're going to write down or you're going to memorize by heart that me, Yahya, told you something and you were in a crowd or what? Other students. And where did I, me, Yahya, get it from? The next link in the chain, al-Bukhari, he says, Haddathana ibn Wahb, a man whose name was Ibn Wahb, the son of Wahb. My teacher. You're now reporting your isnad. Everybody understand this? And the teacher of my teacher was who? He says, Akhbarani Amrun, a man whose name was Amr. Not Umar, but Amr. Amr. And who was the teacher of Amr? A man whose name was Bukair. His name was Bukair, similar to Bakr. Bukair. And this man, Bukair, he reported from another man whose name was Asim ibn Umar ibn Qatada, who heard from Ubaidullah al-Khawlani. Ubaidullah al-Khawlani is the student, the disciple of the companion. This is the last link in the chain before the actual companion. Everybody understand this? His name is Ubaidullah al-Khawlani. He said, I heard Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu saying, everybody knows him now. Uthman ibn Affan, the companion, the one who married the Prophet's daughters, the Nurayn, his two daughters. So Uthman radiallahu anhu is the companion. And this man, Ubaidullah al-Khawlani, he says, I heard Uthman saying something. I heard Uthman what? Saying something. What did Uthman say and when did he say it? This is very important to understand in community life. He said, I heard Uthman saying when Uthman, now we have to understand something about history in brief, guys, before we move forward. And that is all the companions have a general virtue. They all have a general virtue. They met the Prophet ﷺ. That's a general virtue. But among that general virtue, some companions did certain things. This one fought in this battle. This one spent his wealth like this. This one was the first to believe. This one was the youngest to believe. This one was the first female to believe. Everybody understand this? And from the virtues of Uthman is that he made a major extension on the Prophet ﷺ's masjid. A major reconstruction of the Prophet's masjid. The Prophet's masjid went through several phases. And Uthman played a great role and one of the major leaps in its construction. But when he was reconstructing the masjid, everybody understand this? To deconstruct first and then reconstruct and rebuild, some people didn't agree with him. And they found fault in him. And some people may have criticized him. What are you doing? Why are you building like this? The Prophet's masjid, the materials were very simple. Why do we need stone? Why do we need gravel? Why do we need this and that? Leave it as it is. Leave it simple. Leave it small. So when Uthman heard the people saying this about him, complaining and criticizing him, he then went on to do what? Inform the people. And what was the thing that he informed the people of? Man bana lillahi masjidan yabtaghi bihi wajha Allah bana Allahu lahu mithluhu fil jannah. Or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. Then Uthman, he says, whoa, slow down, stop, just relax. You're entitled to have your own opinion, except that I have something that's going to smash your opinion now. Because I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, he who, for Allah's sake, with the proper intention, Allah will what? In paradise. So what I'm doing is totally warranted. It's okay. Everybody understand this? And the hadith says that Allah will build for him the likes in paradise, which we're going to get into later on. What's meant by that word? Mithlahu. In other words, Uthman wanted to make the masjid spacious and expansive because of this what? Hadith, that Allah will give him similar where? In paradise. Now, with this story behind the hadith, everybody understand this? This is what we call sabab al-tahdith. Okay, just like we have asbab al-nuzul, why this verse was sent down, chapter 33, chapter 65, chapter 3, chapter 2, why this surah was sent down. Because this person asked the Prophet, this munafiq, this Jew, this woman, this battle. We also have reasons behind the hadith being mentioned. So when you know the story behind the hadith being mentioned, it gives you a better what? Understanding of the hadith, and also gives you a better appreciation of the hadith. Everybody understand this? So Uthman is basically saying what I'm doing is totally what? Fine. By expanding and reconstructing the masjid, because he who? Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this or not? It gives you a much better what? No doubt about it. And you can go here, there, just based on knowing the historical context of the hadith. Everybody clear on this? So now let's get into the actual wording of the hadith now. This hadith, as we know, has also been collected by Imam Muslim from the authentic collections of hadith as well. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says here, men bana. First and foremost, when we say the word men, we say men, he. It also includes she. So it isn't exclusive to males. The hadith is saying anyone. Everybody understand this? Male, female, young, old, big, small. Everybody understand this? You and you. Great difference between your ages. But the word says men. Anyone. And in the Arabic language, whenever this word is used, men, it proves that a thing is totally general and comprehensive. Everybody understand this? Then the hadith says bana, builds. This proves that the virtue, and getting this virtue in this hadith, comes from actual building and constructing, and not just putting the people in a location or putting the people in an empty space, but it actually has to be a what? Some type of building. Everybody clear on this? Some type of construction. The hadith then says masjidan, he or she who builds. And we said we're going to explain this hadith in detail. That was the lecture that was announced. I don't know if Talut mentioned that, but we said in detail. We're going to dissect the hadith what? Slice by slice, piece by piece. The Prophet ﷺ says, anyone who builds a masjid, and he doesn't say the masjid, he doesn't say a jami', a large masjid, he says what? Masjidan, with a fatha tanween, meaning it's nakira, it's indefinite now. And this proves, and it includes any masjid. Small, big, fancy, basic, new, revamp, modern, from the ground up. Anyone who does what? Builds a masjid, constructs a masjid. Everybody understand this? So this includes any type of building that is a what? Masjid. Whether you take a church and remove the crucifix, remove the altar, remove this, and turn it into a masjid. Or a house, you put in a carpet, you take this down, there was a storefront. That's considered a building and construction as well. Everybody understand this? So this includes what? Anything that's building it, constructing it, renovating it. Everybody understand this? Whether it's big or what? Small. So no one can come and say, well, this masjid is too small, this masjid is too tiny, it's not included in the hadith, it has to be a jami', it has to be from the ground up, it has to have a minaret and a dome or domes, it has to have a mihrab. We say, no, that's incorrect. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, man bana lillahi masjidan, or man bana masjidan. He who builds, she who builds, constructs a masjid. The next part of the hadith says, قال بكير حسبته أنه قال يبتغي به وجه الله. The narrator from Ubaydullah al-Khawlani, Bukair, he said, I think that I heard him saying, يبتغي به وجه الله. He or she, anyone who builds a masjid, seeking the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seeking the face of Allah, the Mighty and the Most High. This part of hadith teaches us two main things. Number one, which is the main fa'idah here, this maqsuda, is that you have to have sincerity. And you can't build a masjid for the people to commend you and to praise you. You can't build a masjid and build a community for people to say, oh, he was a pioneer. He was a trailblazer. I established this community. I established this center. I brought the Muslims to this town or to this city. I'm the one who paid all the money. I'm the one who brought and orchestrated the entire thing. No. If that is your intention, then you are no longer included in what? In this hadith. You don't get the virtue anymore. You don't what? you don't get the virtue, because sincerity is a condition for all deeds to be what? Accepted. Everybody understand this? And this is crucial. And some of the ulama of Islam, they would speak about this. When the people put their names outside of the masjid, Fulan ibn Fulan constructed this masjid in 19 such and such. Some of them would say, even back in the day, way before the 20th century, they would say, Hada yunafi al-ikhlas. They said that is something which doesn't necessarily mix with sincerity. Why does your name have to be on the building? Everybody understand this? The deed, that's a different story. Running the masjid, that's what? Different story. But my name has to be seen by everyone. Something's clearly what? Wrong. So it has to be done sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the people put your name on the building, طيب, I didn't tell them to do it. Or let's say even if a person did have the name on the building, and they say, I want people to see my name and make dua for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has no sincerity. It doesn't what? Necessarily mean that. But it's something that's definitely what? Best to what? Avoid. That's at best. That's at what? At best. Everybody understand this? So the condition of you getting this house similar to for you in Jannah is that you do it what? Sincerely. And the second fact from that piece of hadith is the affirmation of one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is sifatul wajh, the face of Allah azza wa jal, which is not the reward of Allah. The reward of Allah is one thing, and the face of Allah is another. From the requirements of Allah seeking the face of Allah is seeking the reward of Allah. However, the sifa here is not a sifa there. That's tahrif. That's distorting Allah's attributes. Everybody understand this? That's a different discussion, but that's from the fawaid of the hadith and the aqidah that we as Muslims have with regards to Allah's beautiful names and His lofty attributes in a manner that befits Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, without any resemblance to His created beings. Moving forward, the hadith then says, "Ben Allahu lahu mithlahu fil jannah." Allah will build the likes of it for him in paradise. Anyone who builds a masjid for Allah, seeking the face of Allah, Allah will build for him the likes of it in Jannah. Now, when it says mithlahu, what does this mean? The likes of it in paradise. That Allah will build a house for you in Jannah? Or does it mean that Allah will give you a house in Jannah based off of what type of house you constructed in this dunya? In other words, I built this masjid here with this musalla, so this is going to be the size of my house in Jannah. Or I only spent $5,000 in contributions, and another brother spent $1 million. Is that what the hadith means? Or does the hadith mean يعني في مطلق المثلية, in the concept of similarity? You build a house for Allah in the dunya, and Allah will build a house for you in the Jannah without any comparison or similarities. There's no comparison between the dunya and what? This life. Allah says wine. It's of no imagination you can think of the wine in Jannah, except for the basic name and the basic concept. Everybody understand this? Everybody got this or not? A river of honey. You ever thought about that? A river of what? Of honey. How is that going to be? A river of honey. A river of milk. A river of water that never becomes what? Stagnant and stale. You can understand the terminology, but the concept is still what? No doubt about that. At best, foreign. Everybody clear on this? So therefore, the hadith says that Allah will build for him the likes of it in Jannah. What is exactly meant by that part of the hadith? Size, the general concept of a house, or portion. Everybody understand this? Everybody understand this or not? Also from the things that are included in this hadith is what? When we say, man bana, he who builds, or she who builds. What if a brother comes and says, Salih, I didn't build anything, or I just gave $20. I gave a contribution. I wasn't in there every day getting splinters in my finger, drilling in the beams. I wasn't painting with the mask on and the boots. Everybody, that wasn't me. But I did give $100. I did give $500. I did give $1,000. Everybody understand this? I did work once a month. Or I didn't even do anything physical. I didn't do anything what? Physical. I sat in front of my laptop and was the architect, the engineer, the designer of the what? Of the masjid. A brother says this or a sister says, I picked out the color scheme for the masjid. The carpet is going to be maroon. The walls are going to be with mahogany wood, stained. The window paint like this and like that. And she mastered it and put it together, the look of the masjid. And she never picked up a what? A bucket of paint. Everybody understand this? Or someone who's just the financial advisor. He was the treasurer of the whole masjid. He overlooked all of the wealth and made sure that there was absolute transparency. No one is what? Slipping any money in their pockets. Everybody understand this? All of these things are included in the word or the term what? Bana. Build. Everybody clear on this? And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be someone who's a laborer and actually constructing and swinging a sledgehammer. Or with a nail gun. Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this? And this is crucially important because some people, they think that their contributions may be insignificant or it doesn't matter. Or I didn't build the masjid, I just helped out. But those brothers, they are the ones who actually what? Built it. And that's not necessarily what? Correct. So this is a basic layout of the hadith. With some detail, whether that hamd, of what is and what isn't included in this hadith. Everybody understand this? Another fact before we go forward is, and before we stop, is this hadith shows us that there will always be people who will misunderstand. And there will always be people who will criticize. And there will always be people who have relative short vision from time to time. And some type of narrow-mindedness from what? From time to time. And it's not meaning any disrespect to anyone, from the early Muslims or the people today. But there's going to be someone who's going to disagree with you. There's going to be someone who can't see what you see. And as long as you have the sunnah behind you, as long as your prop, your wall that you're leaning against is the hadith of the Prophet and the sunnah, it doesn't matter who, what, when, or where. Just look at this hadith. The people were there different with who? Uthman. Who was different with Uthman? Ignorant Muslims? Jahal Muslims? No, they were the what? And the tabi'een. The best of Muslims. The tabi'een and maybe some sahaba. Yet and still Uthman, he did what? He remained firm. I'm going to build a masjid. I'm going to make it as big as I possibly can because... And this is crucially important in 2017. And not to be pressured or bullied into taking a view or opinion because of a sheikh or a masjid or a brother or a sister or this one or that one or opinion or a madhab. La, malish. This is what I believe is the what? Haqq. If I'm guided, alhamdulillah. And if I'm mistaken, then you're not going to punish me. Allah is going to punish me. And you can't forgive me, but what? Allah will. Everybody understand this? This is crucially important for us to get this. Is that you have to stand up for the truth no matter who goes against it. Everybody understand this? And Allah clearly tells us in the Quran the harm if the truth were to follow the falsehood. If the truth were to follow their desires, Allah says the heavens and the earth will be spoiled and all of those therein. If the truth submitted to the what? The falsehood. So you have to be courageous and you have to be brave. And you have to don't care about anyone or anything as long as you have sincerity, you have ikhlas, and you have some type of proof and evidence that you are using properly, what? And correctly. Everybody understand this? And it also goes to show us is that there were difference of opinion in the time of the what? The Sahaba. In the time of the Sahaba. And just because someone says something who is from the early generation of the Muslims, it does not mean that it's a hujjah in the deen. It doesn't mean that it's a legal authority. And the legal authority is Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if not, that which all the Sahaba and the Muslims agreed upon. As far as a view and opinion, that is not a what? It's not hujjah. It's not a what? It's not legal proof. Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward before we stop, take a brief commentary of this hadith. قال الحافظ بن رجب رحمه الله تعالى في الفتح وهذا يرجع إلى قاعدة الجزاء على العمل من جنسه كما أن من أعتق رقبة أعتق الله به أو بكل عضو منه عضو منها من النار ومن نفس عن مسلم كربة من كرب الدنيا نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب الآخرة ومن يسر على معسر يسر الله عليه في الدنيا والآخرة ومن ستر مسلما في الدنيا ستره الله في الآخرة والراحمون يرحمهم الرحمن ومثل هذا كثير فمن بنى لله مسجدا يذكر فيه اسم الله في الدنيا بَنَى اللَّهُ لَهُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ بَيْتًا. Ibn Rajab, the great scholar of the 8th century, he says, this hadith clearly proves, and it goes back to a major qa'idah, a maxim in the deen, a major rule in the religion. And that rule in the religion is well known in America as well. It's well known in the north and in the south. And they say you reap what you sow. You get what you deserve. Everybody understand this? That the jaza, the reward, is based off of the type of deed, the actions that you do. You build a house for Allah in this life, and I understand this? You get what you deserve. You reap what? What you sow. You worked hard, you toiled in the field to plant, and when the day of harvest comes, it's what? You'll be happy with your fruit or your vegetable or your plant or your tree. Everybody understand this? You relax, you want to sit back, drink lemonade, take it easy. You didn't give too much care to your farm, to your crops. A month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes to grow, you're going to what? You're not going to get anything. Everybody understand this? This is a major principle in Islam. Hard work and sacrifice leads to nothing but success. Don't forget these words. Yaqub, Salih, Xavier, Ahmed, all of the youth. Listen to these words. Hard work, sacrifice, dedication, and sacrifice only leads to success. There's no losing when you have those elements. You understand this? If you don't have those elements, you want to take it easy, chill, relax. You want to look cute, you want to look nice. You want to be this, and you want to be that. Have fun, play all day, every single day. A time is going to come in which you're going to have what? Nothing. Everybody understand this? It tastes bitter in the beginning, but the fruits are what? Sweet. The farmer, he forgets about his back pains, and the mosquitoes and the fire ants. When he bites into that what? Sweet apple or peach or whatever, watermelon, he forgets about it. Is this not the case? The corn, the smell of the corn, he does what? He forgets about all of the sacrifice and the struggling when he looks at the beautiful harvest. Is this not the case? He forgets about it. The champion, when he grabs that trophy and he kisses it and he starts crying, he forgets about all of those long, grueling hours of practice. Shooting 300 free throw shots. Watching the tape until your eyes shut and start to tear. You forget about this? This is reality. So he says this hadith goes back to this principle, is that you get what you deserve. He then says, let's make an example of this. He says someone who manumits a slave, who frees a slave. Allah will allow each body part to be emancipated from the hellfire. To be emancipated from the what? From the hellfire. He says, and he who relieves a Muslim from a hardship and a difficulty, Allah will relieve him from a hardship and a difficulty where? In the hereafter, when you need it. He says here, he who gives someone who's in debt, and it's a hard time paying off the debt, don't worry about it. Inshallah, give it to me when you get it. I'm sorry, Sheikh. It's all right. Labas. Whenever you get it, give it to me, inshallah. Take care of your family. When you get it, what? Just give it to me. Give me half of it. He who does this, Allah will alleviate him from hardship in the what? In the hereafter. He says, he who screens a Muslim, he who covers the faults of a Muslim in his life, Allah will cover the faults of what? Him in hereafter. He says, and the Rahimun, the merciful people, they are shown mercy by Ar-Rahman. Allah only shows mercy to those who are what? Merciful. He says, and this is abundant. Hada kathir. There are countless examples of this. He says, so he who builds a masjid in which Allah's name is mentioned in this life, Allah will build for him a similar to or the likes of it in the hereafter. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to take a pause, a brief intermission. First and foremost is to feed our souls with Salat al-Asr. Then, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, hopefully, maybe to feed our bodies with some light refreshments, perhaps some fresh fruit, some crackers. I don't know if they have an assortment of cheeses back there. Some tea, some coffee, maybe some donuts, some danishes, raspberry, cherry, lemon, apple, Allah knows best. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow us to understand what we have heard and what we have read and to benefit therefrom. If there's enough time, we will finish this explanation because there's many more goodies that I want to share with you. and also take some questions that may be pertaining to this hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your respect.